yeah, I guess my godson probably needs some attention too. I haven't seen him in ages. Did you bring a present? Like a spoon? I'm sure he likes spoons. 2-year-olds like spoons, right? Right? Two? No, maybe. I know money's tight. I know that sometimes we can't afford things. I know. Hey, can I talk to you later? They're all staring at me and laughing at me. He's really creepy. All right. I love you. Bye. Cell phones. I don't remember what I was talking about, but cell phones, they're pretty interesting. You can make phone calls to grandmothers half a nation away. You can send text messages to people you don't want to look at. You can surf the internet 10 feet away from your laptop or your desktop. These things just amaze me. And companies will make billions of dollars on these every single year. And I mean, companies have picked up on the usefulness of them. Most white collar and blue collar jobs now almost require you to have cell phones. If anything, just to contact you, but also to update you on your emails, get text messages from your boss. Where are you? I'm on a quick trip, getting some coffee. These things are just really useful. They're also immense distractions to us every single day. They consume so much time in even my life, and I just have calling. I don't even have texting or web. I spend so much every single day just sitting there talking to people, not face to face, and on the cell phone. There's a group of people in Genesis who are also very highly distracted. If you'll turn your Bibles to Genesis 11, verses 1 through 9 are what we'll be reading today. I'll give you a little bit of background. This is after Noah's been saved from the flood, and after God has wiped a new slate for us to live in. And Noah had 3 sons, and each son had generations. And this is after the generations have been foretold. Genesis chapter 11, verse 1. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other." So the Lord scattered them from there all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it's called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. It's a pretty common passage. Most of us in here know it. If you don't, it's okay, I just read it to you. And it's a pretty neat passage. The first verse tells us that the entire planet, the entire population of the world spoke one language. I think it's pretty cool. If we had that today, we'd have so much more innovation, so much more technology, so much more good. I mean, I'm barely able to master English, let alone the 3,000 languages we have today, not including dialects. 3,000. The Pope knows like 50. It's a lot of languages. But also with all one language, we'd also have lots of problems too. Starting with verse 2, we started having problems with this passage. They say, "Let us go make bricks." It's not a bad idea. Lots of bricks are made today. It's been a few thousand years. There have been new innovations with it, but they say I'm sorry, I'm ahead of myself. The second verse actually says they moved to one plane. Verse 3 says they make bricks. Verse 2 is they moved to one plane. which if y'all read a lot of Genesis, or a little bit of Genesis, you might have known once to Adam and twice to Noah and his sons, God tells them, go forth and settle the entire earth, the entire planet. And yet, they're settled in this one little bit of plane. Just one. So that's actually the beginning of the problem. The second problem was that they're making buildings out of bricks, out of clay, instead of stone. They were probably making these out of clay bricks. Clay, the reason why we don't have very many clay buildings from back then is because clay will actually dry out and crumble, as opposed to rock, which God makes, which does not crumble. So they're all settled in one area, and they're all making bricks out of clay, both of which are not very good. And then the worst part of this comes into play. They say, let us make a city and a tower. I don't know if they knew what they were doing with the bricks before then. They could have just making bricks for fun. Without internet, television, video games, I don't know what they did for fun back then. Let's go make bricks. So they might have been making bricks for fun. But they say, let's go make a city and let us make a tower. But why are they doing this? So that we can make a name for ourselves. It said, let us make a name for ourselves, not for God, not using his help. We will do it on our own, and we'll make a name for ourselves. Now, that might not sound like a big deal at first, but they were distracted. They were distracted from glorifying God. They were distracted from worshiping God. They were distracted from living their lives in a godly manner so they can make a city for their own name. And I'm sure we know the rest of the story. God came down, probably a lot lighter than that. He scattered them across the entire planet. And today we have 3,000 languages, 2,999 of which I don't know. I know a little French. That's about it. I'm not going to consider that. So what does that look like today? What can we to find to illustrate that for today? Well, something that the youngsters might be a little bit more knowledgeable about is video games. I'm not saying those of you who are under the age of 12 don't know about it. I've certainly lived in enough houses this past month and a half to know that most of y'all have a Wii. I don't know why, but apparently a lot of people like bowling. So there's this video game. There's a video game where you're able to make your own character, and you're able to play a role in this digitally created world. It's called a role-playing game. The specific one I'm going to talk about is World of Warcraft. If you watch TV, they've had commercials about it. If you go online, they've had commercials about it. It's a big deal to gamers because World of Warcraft has the Guinness Book of World Records for the most people subscribing to it. They have 11 million people subscribing to this one game, and for $15 a subscription, they're probably making a pretty penny off this game. Now people will go on, play this game for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And they'll occasionally not take care of themselves in one manner or another. They won't eat a meal sometimes. They'll not get any sleep sometimes. Traumatically, they won't take a shower sometimes, and that's reeks. And occasionally, they come across things that are a little bit worse. In 2005, a man in China died because he stayed online for several days playing World of Warcraft. In 2007, a Nevada couple neglected their child as they played down the road in an internet cafe, and they didn't come back home, and the child died. In 2011, a Korean couple also let their child die as they went down to an internet cafe, came back, and the child had died, suffocated. because these people could not take their attention away from a video game for the time required to care for a child, let alone time to care for themselves, let alone time to spend with God. And this is one thing, one distraction in our lives. I know not all of y'all can identify with that. I don't play World of Warcraft. I personally just really don't like it. It's a waste of time for me. I prefer to delve into the Bible a few times a week. What's something we all have in common? That it would be our history. Each and every single one of us has a history, whether we're willing to admit it or not. I'll tell you a little bit about my history to explain how this can be a distraction. See, I didn't used to always live with my grandmother. Surprise, surprise. I lived with my mother for a long time. My parents are divorced, and after the divorce, my mother got me into the settlements, and we moved to Tennessee, where we lived with my other grandmother for a little while, and then she moved out, and I lived with my mother and my sister in one house. I feel bad for all men who live with just women. I have experienced that. I feel sorry for you. So, and before I start this, you need to know a little bit about me, which the people who I've stayed with will know a little bit. I'm very quiet in the household. Peggy Rush described me as a ghost. She said, besides a creaking floorboard and some running water every once in a while, she didn't even know I was there. So I'm very quiet. I like to be very secluded. I can literally sit in bed all day. It's fun for me. And I'll surf the internet, usually look at Wikipedia. I'll look at dictionary.com. I'm a nerd. Those who are laughing are nerds too. So I'm very quiet. My mother and my sister, at least when they're in the same household, are very violent and very loud. I'm sure some of y'all are looking ahead and be like, that doesn't quite fit. No, it doesn't. See, I lived with them for 3 years during high school, my freshman, sophomore, and junior years, and I was miserable beyond all get out. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no clue. I was thinking about alternative measures. Where was the nearest place I could run away to? How do you survive off of lake foliage? I was looking for anything. And in March of 2005, I called my grandfather and said, you know what? Enough's enough. I am not happy here. They don't take any consideration. Their fights with each other rolls over onto me, and I have scars, both emotionally and physically, from what they do. It's not fun. It's not a big deal, but it's not fun. So I called him, and I said, hey, can I move in with you? And father, grandfather, yeah, move in with us. Not a big deal. So I waited. I bided my time. And at the end of the school year, just like every other school year, we flew down to Texas with my father. I stayed with them for a few weeks, and then I had to make a call. Because you see, part of this plan was not to tell my mother I was moving. Because if I told my mother I was moving, if I told my mother I wasn't coming back, she would not have let me on that plane. So I got on the plane, flew. About halfway through the summer, I made the call. I said, Mom, I'm not coming back. I'm never living with you ever again. I mean, the mothers in here will know how painful that will be when a child says that to them. But what's more distracting for me is that not only did I not trust other people, I broke my mother's heart. And I couldn't trust myself after that. In between not trusting others and not trusting myself, it took me 3 years to accept Christ. It took me 3 years to get going to church, to find out who I really am, who Christ really is, and to accept him and be baptized. It even took the death of the grandfather that I stayed with for me to realize that, because I was distracted by my own past. So what can we do today to not be distracted? I know a few of you have been checking your phones, checking your watches. It's a distraction. I understand that. But how can we not be distracted by technology, by other people, by our pasts, and by our presence? Well, a good first step is to identify what's distracting you. Identify what brings you away from God. For me, my biggest distractions were Facebook, other people, and my past. That's a pretty good way to start. Just a list of 3. That's all you really need. Because if you can get rid of your 3 biggest distractions, you have so much more time for God, to delve into his word, to seek him, to find him. Because James 4:4 says, the more you seek God, the more he seeks you. After you've made this list of your 3 distractions, try getting rid of them. If your distraction is electronics, fast from electronics as best as you can. I'm not saying give up your work phone. I don't want anybody getting fired because of a sermon I delivered. I'm saying if you are on Facebook farming, you don't need to check your farm for a week. It's okay. Your cows will not die. I've tried. If you are playing video games of other sorts, it's okay. Get out of there for a week. If you're watching television, it's okay. The news will still be there when you get back. The world will not explode within 7 days, maybe 8 days, not 7. If it is a unfriendly friend who keeps drawing you away from church and away from God, don't talk to them for a week. See how that affects your relationship with them. If it is your past, see if you can get around your past by either talking about it with others, as I've just done with you, or by asking God to lift it from your heart. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes between distractions and when it comes between God, and I'm forced to choose between distractions and God, you know which one I'm going to choose? I'll pick God, and I won't even look back. I know I haven't talked very much about Jesus today, but if you have distractions on your life today, and you want to get rid of them, and you've never accepted Christ before, then I invite you forward today to get rid of the sins, to get rid of your past, because Christ doesn't care about your past. Christ doesn't care about what you've done. What Christ cares about is you. Christ went and he died for the remission of our sins. So if you've not done that, and you're willing today to come up and do that, please come up today as we stand and sing.
Following along in your